You know,
Zone and everything.
Yes, like a positive.
Technical difficulty. Please stand by.
yeah.
That I can do. Maybe it's through our system as I'm trying to run it or something. That could be, huh? Go ahead and hit pause. So far, so.
Yeah, that's a lot. We had one of the, what I call main players, I guess, like when we talked to our design consultant, he said, this is the guy that I think does a lot of that work. I'd expect to see his name. And that guy has requested plans already. And then I did ask our design consultant for some others that he knows of that work. And I think I got 3 names and I reached out to all of them just to make sure they knew about it. And I think 2 of them, that was yesterday I did that. I think 2 of them have replied expressing some interest. So I think we'll, there's 3 different ones that have expressed interest thus far. So that's good. Yes. Yes. There's not a lot of people like that work. Yep. Yeah. So no, I'm happy with how that's going so far. Next for me, at the last meeting, we requested to purchase some tires, but I forgot to confirm if that was contract pricing or not. And I can't confirm that that is state contract pricing. So I think this is the best numbers we're going to see. So I would recommend going with the low bid Ponce tire from Marshall for $6,430. Next up is approval for a right-of-way payment. We don't have it just signed yet, but I want to get ready to pay it. Here, waiting for another call back from this individual. It's $1,100. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's just like a normal piece of, I guess, culvert easement, but it's got some vents in it, and then a larger temporary easement that gives us access to a different part of the stream that we need to be in temporarily. So part of this is for permanent easement and part is temporary. Yep, but that's the total payment right now. 75 by both hog barns, just west of the hog barns, the east-west part of 75. $100. Okay, next up, the discussion, possibly action about the steel wheel roller replacement. I briefly touched on this in previous meetings. When we had an engine failure, prices we got made it not worth fixing in the engine. So we reached out to, oddly enough, a company stopped in, this United Rentals, saying that, hey, we're in the business of renting out stuff and sell some used equipment too. And I happened to ask if they had rollers, and they did. So they got me price on a used one that they had coming up rent. It's 2018. It's got 417 hours. It's had a new water pump. I didn't specify if that was for the drum. You spray water on the drum, or if that was on the engine. I didn't think of it too late, but In a front vibrator motor, they said they'd do a shop inspection to confirm everything works, and then have a 30-day warranty, which I don't know if that would do us much good, because I don't know if we use it by then. Depends if we can get mixed or not. But we also priced out, 2 new ones. One from CAD, one from RDO. So, for how much we use them, if we're gonna do this, I'd probably say to go with the used one. Homemade, I've heard of it before, but I don't know anything about it. Ham, I've never heard of. Cat, heard of cat, but. So I don't have anything in the budget for this, but this kind of stems back to those talks we had about our reserve, equipment reserves, so. Nope, it's in Omaha, otherwise we would have. Well, sorry, I take that back. We have a couple pictures in an email, but we haven't physically laid eyes on it. Diesel. Yep, if you want, we could go down to Omaha and look at it. Maybe, yeah.
Well, if I want to sell it,
Sure.
I wouldn't recommend running it alone.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought to ask the salesman that. I mean, I can, I'll tell them, like, if that's the route we want to go, I'll say, okay, we'll do that, but we need to physically inspect it first.
And you don't have specific jobs this fall, you have to use it for.
We have a couple gravel patches on our County Road 1 by Hitcherton. We could use it for if we can get. It's not always as easy as just saying, hey, we're coming to get it.
Well, it depends what when they shut you off too. That's usually. I mean, when they shut it off.
Yeah, I would think, yeah. Yep. But I think
These-
we should.
And these gravel patches, they've already sat through one winter.
No, they have, that's the other thing. I was reluctant to do it on County Road 18 because we would have had to hire it done. And as we found out in our bids, it was like $55,000 or something, these we could do cheaper on our own, but they might have to get ripped back out, so. I'm also fine just packing millings in there and maintaining over the winter and fixing it next year too, like in the spring.
And we use the steel face for packing buildings too.
No, I think we just use like the motor grader, roller on the back of that.
The reason I asked if any projects for it, it's budget. Again, it doesn't budget. Would you rather take it out of this year's current budget, out of your proposed next year's budget?
I would probably take it out of that equipment reserves that we have, like some of that older stuff that,
From this year's.
no, just like the list on the second page of this attachment.
Right.
Like there's some things on here that I think could come off this list that you briefly touched on, so I would use that one, that's how I do it. So I wouldn't be adding anything to my budget this year, just cleaning up our equipment reserves list. Because it wouldn't affect my budget, it's already there.
May not be available.
Right, yeah, I mean, anybody can come in and buy this at any time, so,
This the reason I ask is, we know this for 25 years.
Yep.
So if it's an oddball engine.
I don't think it's sad. For sure, didn't say. I could ask and find out. I could do that, and try to get an answer this morning.
I actually, I didn't think guys actually didn't see it, so I think that it would know, like, garbage. Seriously.
Yep.
I didn't. Yeah.
It's just a pickup, it's just a big
when I talked to him, he said something about loading it on a semi, because they run semis back and forth. With different stuff, so we load up a bunch of stuff.
The tape, but it comes back and forth to pickups too. That's like, yeah, right.
Okay, I can, I'll tell them we want to see it first. Yeah, that's fine.
Kind of universal, you know, in the future. Say in 20 years. If you got something odd on it. Well, like a cat or a dog. There's
No,
no.
yeah, I get that, so,
Going to perform a motion vote is the general consensus that we are interested enough to have to bring it up, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Request for action at this point. We need to actually table this today.
no, it's, think I listed a top under item, just discuss / approve, so I mean, really, we just want to talk about it now, and then I can get more info, and then we can take action later, I'm fine with that. Then as talked about in some of our budget meetings, on the second page, this is that line by line list of items that we have in that sign for equipment purchases. It's just in our regular account or whatever you want to call it for now, but we do have it tracked, you know, that money that was collected over the years that wasn't used. Kind of go down that list, then we have an air compressor from 1991 for $10,000. I don't know if that meant moving it outside and building a little shed around it. I just don't know. Are they that much? The big ones are? Okay. I'm used to like the ones for like a garage or shop that are maybe a few thousand for a nice one. For the, you're saying for an industrial one, that's what they, okay. So ours looks really old. I'd probably leave that money there because, you know, for when ours does fail, you know, like when the tank goes bad or when the pump goes bad or something, it won't be worth fixing anymore. So, and also in 1991, there was a roller for 10,000. I don't know what kind, maybe it's what we're looking at buying now. You know, I just don't know, but that's how that whole conversation got started. Like, you know, maybe we should just use that money to replace our steel wheel roller. Then you'll see a tamping roller and two lines below that. There's used sheep split packer, both used for building roads. You know, if we took on a little project ourselves, it's something we want, but I don't. And then there's also times where we use it if we had it. You know, there was a road that fell apart by Holland this spring. Would have been nice to have equipment and help back up. And again, you know, we figured it out anyway, but can't say we necessarily have to have it in there, but it's something that if we had it, we could use it.
Available to use is in Holland, the elevator there we could there's
So maybe I'll just go through this whole list and then I'll kind of come around to my thoughts. 2017 says approximate half of truck hoist jacks. That could be titled better. That's just how it ended up in there, but really that's ultimately for a third set of jacks that lift our trucks up. You know, we have two, we've been getting by with two. I don't know if that needs to be in there. No, you would know just as much as me, if not more. That's what I'm saying, that's why we have. That's what I'm saying, I think that.
I was there when they purchased. That's two sets.
So if you got a truck with 10 axles on it,
We can lift
We
it.
just take a block in where the tandem.
the truck,
We've been, I don't know, 5, 6 years, we've had these. And I haven't seen a need to buy a third set, that's why we haven't done it, so that money could come out of here as far as I'm concerned. Pickup plow and small sander, that money wouldn't cover it anyway, and we haven't. We talked about doing it, but then it kind of never happened, so I don't see it happening going forward.
Again, I put that in there.
Yep.
actually. And, it's just a thought, so. You know. Pretty sure, you know, we decided, not only how we don't, do it, or who's gonna do it.
Yes, yep. So. Weather stations. Yeah, necessarily say no to that one. Had a lot of turnover. And we have some retirements coming up, so there's some things on this list where I think I'd almost like to wait until we stabilize with the crew a little bit and see. I think we had talked about putting one of these up on the ridge. Because it can be so different up there versus down here, so. I think I'd like to leave that there and just reevaluate in a few years, but.
There are five companies that have quite a number of weather stations out as well too.
Right.
Yeah, so we might be able to get information off of theirs versus owning our own station, but again, that's something we look at as we go, we're gonna decide.
Do you have any more to add to that or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go for it.
No, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, he knows more than I do. on a lot of these.
About the ridge, we've had pointing at one spot, you know, and there's so many variables on the ridge, you know, so you're pointing at this spot on the road and you see the wind speed and it doesn't tell you enough not to go look.
Right.
No, because there's so many other areas that are different, you know, where there's a hill, there's not a hill. We kind of decided, it's just not the answer, it's not gonna tell you whether you go out or not.
So, pickup trailer dump box, that's one of those things I'd like to hold off on that, like, give me a few years and I'll know more about that. Tractor broom, we have ended up pretty much exclusively using the broom we have on our skid steer, so I don't see us wanting a tractor broom. Things could change, but as of now, I don't see a need for it. Then you see two lined out items, one for insurance payment from total trailer and another for pump trailer. On June 13th, we purchased a new pump trailer, so those two are off that list. The title there was as of December 31st, 22. We hadn't used it then, but we have used it. And last item, plasma cutter. The employee that was going to use that is gone, and I gave them right now. So if it's me, I would. If you look at the right-hand column there, this recommended removal from reserves list, I would say that could all go, and then I suppose the weather stations too. So if you want, you know, we could purchase the roller with that money, and then the balance, I could offset equipment this year and lower my levy if you want. Yep. Well, let's
Some other equipment items too, we talked at one time, I'm right about a chipper, but again, the monitoring chipper and doing that.
see for sure. At our meeting every year, ask if we have a chipper, we say no, and they say good. So we have it that way. Yes. On a side note, couldn't necessarily be opposed to a stump grinder. I think we hired some of that done. There's times where we use that, but I want to see more need for it before I recommend doing it.
Can't you dig them out the skid loader?
Digging with the excavators.
They just hire the city or.
Yep. If there's utilities.
People that get hired.
Right. I'd be talking to skid steer one.
No, I know,
But it's like, I don't know if we can do big enough stumps with that. Worth it, so. But that's as close as I'd want to get to a chipper, I guess.
And you can't have that many stumps on people's lawns. You have to deal with
No,
those.
that's right.
That's what I should do with this then.
Mhm.
See if that is planned. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So do you think that decision takes action at this point? I think
No.
so, the parameter.
No. No, he's not come back with a full request to do it yet. He hasn't seen what he wants to buy yet. I think he should check it out and come back. No, I wouldn't adjust this at this point. No.
So just plan on using that, that reserve equipment fund for the roller when we decide which one we want. And then the balance of it offset my levy with it. Okay, sure. And then I guess, speaking of levy, Steve found, he talked to Amanda, and it looks like I'm probably under budgeted for my
Investment income.
investment income, so yeah, I adjusted that, and then I think I'm down to a 2% decrease, and then this will drop it a little bit more, so. Yeah. Okay, next up for me then would just be, maintenance updates. We've been doing some bridge repair, and weed removal, roadway painting and gravel. And at 9:30, and chip presentation, and 10:30, we have a bid open. Other than that, I guess that's all I have. Any questions for me?
It should be here any minute.
I haven't seen Megan here yet. I think she's coming from Wilmer, so. Be ready.
Mr. Chairman, can we take action on resolution 592523, the CJDN resolution and agreement for the state of Minnesota? Yep, everyone got a packet on that this morning. On the state powers agreement, the agreement is between the state of Minnesota acting through the Department of Public Safety on behalf of the BCA Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in the county of Pipestone on behalf of the sheriff's office and BCA and the governmental unit. Also, the county attorney is involved in this too. This agreement comes around every 5 years. It allows the county to access the state's BCA computer and record system for court records, for entering records, viewing records, and making any changes and additions to the system. So recommendation by the sheriff would be for the board to approve resolution 592523 for another 5-year agreement with the state of Minnesota and the BCA for the joint powers agreement. No, there's not. Thank you. Can you guys hear the microphones back there? Can you hear the speakers? Okay, all right. Just making sure I was messing with it this morning.
Other business.
Any other business? Which personnel do you have? Should we try it? Personnel? Morning.
The board, I did hand out a brief sheet of what I'm gonna cover today. First of all, Jody Johnson has resigned as the WID2 and wants to take tomorrow. So I do need the other people of others. The staff could tell you where she's going, you probably already know, but she's going to the city of Pipestone as their city treasurer.
Oh, okay. Any further discussion or questions? There are none, all in favor, 5.
Now we're mad at the city.
Now.
Next item I have is approving the hiring of Philip Waldron as an step I of the pay team, which is listed there. This would be retroactive to September 1st, as he's already been in that position. He has worked with us for about, since last December. He has helped out a lot in the shop during that time period, and he's a highway maintenance. Yep. And, he put in his notice of intent to apply, or he applied to this position. And they felt comfortable with his knowledge and experience he had gotten. So
Did you have to change the job description on, or did you leave that same?
we love this.
Through a highway wasn't sure.
Yeah, so we're re-advertising again. I do need action on the salary offer.
Second.
Thank you, though, for the second. That salary scale, that rate. Any further discussion, questions?
It's nice to have a mechanic again.
Nice to have.
Mhm. A long time.
Exactly 1 year since the
I think we want to post. Yes.
Next, I have the sheriff's office job description update. So, as part of our consultation study, we are trying to update as many job descriptions as we can. This deputy came in, went through and did an initial draft earlier this summer. I went through and did a second draft and went through some of the editing with the sheriff on these job descriptions. So they have been seen by the sheriff and chief deputy, and I think they're good with the edits. And I didn't print them out with the changes because it was really ugly and it was hard to read. So I printed out the final drafts just here so you could read them a little easier. I wouldn't say there was any major changes other than the sergeant investigator. We made sure that his position had both all of the sergeant duties listed and the investigator duties listed, which weren't really encompassed in his previous job description. It was more just listed as an investigator, but this individual in this position does do sergeant duties as well. So the title is now sergeant investigator officially, and it lists out all of his investigative and sergeant duties. As far as the other ones, the chief deputy is lieutenant, sheriff administrator, patrol sergeant, and deputy. Those did have some minor changes. The lieutenant, we added some information. He does a lot of the fleet management for their office. He does a lot of the equipment management and ordering and a lot of the trainings and stuff like that. So we made sure that was in there as well. And then just kind of updating the basic qualifications to make sure those were accurate. They do need to meet all post licensing requirements, which those do change periodically. So we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves into certain qualifications. We wanted to make sure had that listed, that the post license, all of those qualifications are met, and then the ability to pass our background checks as well, to give the sheriff's office that discretion. And then also added must obey all local, state, and federal laws, which was recommended by the sheriff, by his association, to all of the job descriptions. So that's towards the end of the essential duties. Other than that, I don't have too many other research.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Doug. Move the second to approve and updated job descriptions from the sheriff's office. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes. Who's our DOT captain? Ready for this?
Good morning.
So it looks like we already have.
Yes.
Some people have, you know, the electronic version, some people are taking for ordering. Okay.
Well, this is Megan Pepper with NDOT, here today to, discuss their chip plan.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for having me this morning. As Nick said, I'm Megan DeShepper, I'm the planning director. Lindsay Brewer is along with Sister Kate. Metro District. We can grab these presentations any longer, so. What you have before you is our CHIP, which is our Capital Highway Improvement Program. Part of our area transportation improvement program, and our local ATP submits goals for District 8 along with all the other districts in the state to create the STIP, which is a state transportation improvement program. So those 10 years of them, the first 4 years, so 2024 through 2027, those are commitments. Those are projects that have been scoped. We know how we're going to pay for them. We know what kind of fix they need. We've done all the research. Whereas those outer years, so 2028 to 2033, those are more fluid. Those projects may not be fully scoped. Maybe know the exact fix for that portion of highway. And so those years can even change based on what our funding is. And I just also want to point out that this map was created before the legislative session had closed in the end of June. That's when our last ATP meeting was. So there have been some updates since the printing of this map. We did receive some corridors and counters funding and a raised grant for the project in Marshall. So we did have to do some shuffling after that. But overall, this is what our program is for this year. And also just to let everyone know that even with this state funding and the federal IIJA funds, we still aren't able to fund all our needs, all our safety needs, all our bridge improvements. Like you all struggle to pay for everything that you need them as well. So I'll just go through things in your county, and if you have questions, you can help me along the way. The first project is in 2024, which is red on your map. And that's Highway 23 from US 75 and Pipestone to 1.8 miles north of 91. That's a medium mill and overlay. And it also includes a bridge replacement, as well as a separate bridge that's going to get new end posts and panels. The next project is 2025, which is orange on your map. Highway 30, they're going to install automated speed boarding systems from the state line to 2 miles east. And I think that's even getting changed to more of the chevrons, because they're discovering that the technology on those, they were to blink, they're kind of like Christmas lights. If you knock one out, they're all out. And so it's hard to, you can't time them. So anyway, they might do something different there as they're researching it. The next project is in 2026, which is dark green on your map. So that's Highway 75 from Facade 9 to 90th Avenue on Road 57, and that's a white topping. So that's a thicker concrete overlay project. And then just let you know that's something that we pulled out the portion that's closest to Pipestone itself. So like from County Road 9 north, where the industrial park basically starts, all the way to 30 will be a separate project. We'll be doing some ADA work involved with that. It's looking at
2029 right now, but that gets switched to, our funding is so fluid right now, it's really hard to tell you, because it'll be different.
Before you move on, so
Yeah.
to the backup side, I know the first project is 24 project, yes, that's what Shaw said, that you'd like to share.
Well, I just have some questions. Which bridges are gonna be resurfaced or replaced?
Sure, so they're replacing bridge 59002.
It looks like it's one just north of 14. The one that's over the river. Right,
So you drive by it, that's a total replacement of the superstructure of that bridge, and then bridge 42005 is getting the new end post and approach panels.
so do you know where those bridges are?
The one that's getting replaced is just north of 14, it looks like. The other one isn't on this map.
So is it the one over the river or over the railroad track? Oh, yeah, that's one.
So I can verify.
With the railroad track there. 23 does.
The one is, once you're at the end of the passing lane, that one goes over the railroad
Oh,
track.
okay.
But that one's newer, so I'm assuming that wasn't it.
Okay, yeah. Let you know.
Sure. And then the one that's getting resurfaced is where? Okay,
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
The resurface, that could be a 2-inch overlay or 4-inch overlay on that, you know.
yeah, what is a medium overlay?
Varies in depth, but I don't think I've heard an exact depth, and they may not know that yet either, but.
How many years down since that was built overlays in the last? Doesn't nice been that long, it doesn't.
It's been-
You know that it does, we give ourselves some wiggle room at the depths, because if we say the exact amount, we have to amend the stip every time, so we would call it medium. It's a range, so mixed right, I would have to ask them, what is it in this? So, but I can find that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
And the other one of personal interest to us is, oh, well, also supposed to be the Highway 75 down south, and that Alice might have some thoughts on that, he drives that quite frequently.
Sure. It's just a thicker concrete overlay.
We've never done it here, but we'll take off. For most, maybe even all of the blacktop, and then we'll put concrete on. Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna tie together. I'm guessing they'll leave some bituminous there, so it's kind of level. That makes sense to you? And then they'll put the concrete on top. That's just a guess on my part. We've never done one of these projects, so I don't really know how they work, but I will be out there to check it out, you know. I'm guessing 6 inches. Yeah, I thought that's what I heard. Last time I heard it talking about those projects.
We don't do white toppings on it often, and this is a pretty big fix for us as a district.
I think McLeod County does a lot of them, if I remember right.
But if you want to know the exact depth, I can.
Sure.
Well, it's you to ask for it.
Does have the portion wire or rod in it, and it's fiber, we go what it is.
We did the road. And I don't think that one had to dowel, but we knew the panels. It's about on purpose, so if it has to come out, we don't have to deal with all the refire.
My understanding is that the concept behind this is where the bituminous overlay, when you've got old concrete underneath there, you still have a shift. The idea is with this, it's gonna be stronger, it's not gonna be subject to that shift, so.
Yeah, they may offset joints, I don't know.
And it's it was deteriorating more, our soil materials engineer worked to get it to the white top. And it was just deteriorating. It needed a bigger fix.
Anybody else?
In 2029, which is purple on your map, project on Highway 30 from half a mile east of Highway 59 to the Murray County line. And this is a reclaim and overlay plus Ridge 782.
Would you like to know the location of that one's?
That's in Murray County, it looks like.
Um,
Like the mill and overlay for us should be on 30.
Yeah.
West of Pipestone.
But that one, Murray, is that what they refer to as like Pete's Corner, is that what they refer to up there?
I think so.
No, so east of.
Who's Pete?
31, the light pink color on your map. US 75 Pipestone Creek Bridge, the South Valley Street and Lake Benton, the Holden Place recycle and overlay. Those are all the projects in your county.
Won't be much left of that stretch by the time 2031 rolls around.
Yeah, and I'll get those answers to the questions.
Do you happen to know on 75 going south of Pipestone to Laverne? I know it's not in our district, but where they're gonna do this white topping in our county, are they gonna continue that going south or?
There, 2 days ago, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
And we'd like to acknowledge that, because we know we've had these discussions in the past, and third, whether they last or long, and we appreciate your being reactive to this, and we'll definitely schedule.
they're looking at doing a detour that was doing part of. Okay, that's kind of the best control part, if you always kind of. Find out from that.
right.
Yeah. But she said they added, blade hours in the plans and calcium chloride, so. And it would be up to the project engineer where that goes, so I suppose we'll have to monitor. Wherever the field the shortcut is, they'll probably, they go through. So. I know that historically, the last time something like that happened, we did traffic counts the year before. And then during the project, so we could kind of show that, yep, tripled, and then they reimbursed us, but it sounds like they're just being proactive now, which I think will be a lot better. So yeah, that's, yeah, it's great. Well, that's a good sign for getting the project done. Yeah, that's about acres. Yep. Yep.
Chairman, just wanna stress the point that for Megan, that we're in the bottom corner here, and we don't squeak, we don't get anything. And just, your office is Wilmer, which is way on the other end of it. Remember us back here in the corner.
Well, thank you, Megan, appreciate your report, and
Appreciate the time and I'll get back.
Thank you.
Thank you. See. Bonnie, how long a report do you have today? Sure, come on up.
and we won't rush you also, yeah, we'll move on. Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over an update, and talk about plug yours, she runs.
Yeah, run our team.
If she doesn't get finished, we can come back to it at 10 after the home abatements. Get close.
Great, well, thank you so much for allowing us to come. We are the pension team in Pipestone County, and we just felt like it hasn't been a long time since we've been here, so we wanted to come and update you a little bit on what's been going on. First of all, we really appreciate your support. We get 23% of our budget comes from our county partners, so we definitely could not do this work without you. Part of that comes from our MOA that you signed that funds our 2 educator positions along with our 2 interns in the summer, so we appreciate that. This is year 2 of a 3-year MOA, and so this fall, the AMC Extension Subcommittee will be renegotiating hopefully another 3-year MOA, which will be 25 to 27. So we also appreciate Commissioner Hollingsworth and Nagel on our extension committee. We appreciate that input. And one other thing I wanted to share is that we honored Farm Family of the Year, Mike and Cindy Boston this year. And so they were recognized locally at the Pipestone County Fair and also at Farm Fest. So we just wanted to give a little update. We have a new support staff. She's been here since February. We're going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to have just a little update from each of our educators. Lisa Polstein, and I started in February, so I've been here 2 months now. Yeah, so I went through my first fair and had a great experience and really fun. So,
You're from veterinary?
Lake Wilson.
Lake Wilson?
Yep. Oh,
Welcome.
yes, thank you. Do you want this?
All right, my name is Martha Rum. I am the host production system extension educator. I am between Pipestone and Murray County. So I'm here 2 days a week, whatever that comes out to be. So this is I work mostly with doing the adult programs over here in Pipestone County, and then do some of the stuff over in Murray County. But one of the things that I guess that I did just of course exclusively here in Pipestone here. Travel, all of you are asked me to come and present over at the museum. So this spring I went and gave a presentation that looks strictly at, she wanted to do the monthly department box. And so just looking at my background is in aviation. And so I went over and talked about beef cattle numbers, also focusing on some of the dairy cattle. Yeah, the museum. Yep. And so it's recorded, it's on the Facebook page if you'd like to go and see that. But just talked about some of the issues that are facing beef cattle producers. I have a lot of interest in these dairy crosses. We raised quite a few of them here, just on the I-29 corridor. We get a lot of those cross cattle over here. I'm on a dairy beef short course committee. We hold a big event on Sioux Falls annually, tied in with the I-29 big dairy conference. And we do have a lot of people that come here from Southwest Minnesota to attend that. So I kind of talked about some of the findings and some of the most current research that is out that's coming from these dairy beef crosses and how that affects us as dairy beef producers and here in Pipestone County. If you're interested in hearing that, it is on their Facebook page. It was recorded. I also, as Bonnie mentioned, I had an intern this summer that followed me between the 2 counties, and she had an interest in food preservation. So we actually had a couple of educators that came closer to come from SESU. They came and did 2 food preservation workshops here in Pipestone County. We're seeing that after COVID, we've had a lot of people that are interested in, I grew this garden during COVID. What do I do with all my produce now? How can I preserve it? So we had a number of people that came to both of those classes here in July, well attended. We also, that same week, we had a dairy producer night out. I brought in 2 of my colleagues, 2 dairy educators from the U of M, and they came and spoke about just for where the dairy, where milk prices and everything are at, and the economics and the dairy side. We can't talk about cutting anything out anymore. We're already right there. But they did come in and talk about what are some potential heifer raising strategies that people can consider. We've always done it this way. Grandpa always did it this way. What are things that we need to do to keep up with the times? Maybe spend a little more. That was standing room only. We had a fantastic turnout here out at Stonehouse. Everybody suffered first, but great turnout. And then Something we've got coming up tonight, actually is our, I work with our master gardeners here in Pipestone. We're a very, very small group with a very active group. And we are doing a fall garden tour, we're calling it. And we're gonna do that, it's gonna be held in Leota, and it's an apple tree grafting, propagation, and pruning workshop. It is free to attend, we've got, I think, about 35,000 people, really good turnout that are coming tonight, so we're excited about that. Gonna have an educational session for about 2 hours there. And then I also, Dr. Joe Armstrong, he's our vet with the university. He and I work together to hold beef quality assurance trainings. We do them online, so anybody across the state can attend them. But then I also do the in-person trainings here in Pipestone, Murray County. Partner with the sale barn, and we have a great relationship. They get bring in all the people, and I come in and teach it. It's a required training for people to sell to the packers. And so we have a great relationship. They host me, and then I come in and teach it. I also became certified to teach the transportation training for our commercial haulers. It's me and one other gal in the entire state who are qualified to teach that. I'm going to work with some companies to see if we can line something up this fall to get our commercial haulers certified for that. And then we'll have some other meetings coming up later this fall and winter. Of course, we're in the middle of planning this right now.
Food presentation.
It was one of the biggest
Thank you.
questions. It's a ridiculous, you can and teach that. It was, well, my mom did this, my grandma did this. Do I still need to do this? And just doing it to show the people the research, and we always did it. We tried this, we were concerned, but we tried the technology and the microwaves and things like that, and how we heat up food and different things like that equipment. So it was really interesting.
We have time for rain?
Okay, absolutely.
I'll make it
Oh,
short.
don't- don't-
Well, I'm Brandy, Brandy Scout. I'm the 4-H educator here in Pipestone County. So my handout is just a little snapshot of county fair information. Yes, that one. So just so you have some information of kind of how things went. We had a very, very successful fair this last year, and we had a lot of support from the county, from the fair board, from family, friends, all those different things. So we had 164 youth that actually participated in the county fair by showcasing their learning through animal projects, static or general projects. And I do have those kind of broken out. We had 137 youth that participated with livestock, and then 96 youth that brought different of those non-living, those general projects of like crafts, cover buds, things like that. We had 32 youth that actually they volunteered their time to kind of serve as leaders. So within the county fair, so they helped with different shows, they helped as judges assistants. Were able to kind of take a little bit more of a role than just participating with their learning project. So that's super exciting. We do have currently, we had about 261 youth that are enrolled in the 4-H program here in Pipestone County. So that was a really good number to have participate with the county fair. We've had a lot of kids that went on to the state fair, the last couple of weeks in August, very first weekend in September. We had some youth that participated at the state shooting sports and wildlife event actually last weekend. And then we'll have 5 young ladies that are participating at the state horse show this coming weekend. And it doesn't stop there, obviously, with fair and things like that. We're rolling right into a new 4-H year that starts October 1, and we'll be celebrating National 4-H Week October 1st through the 7th. It's always that first full week in October. So we've got some fun stuff planned there. We're asking all of our youth to, wear their 4-H apparel on the Wednesday of 4-H week. And then that same day, we're actually going to have like an open house kickoff for anybody that's interested in learning more about the 4-H program. And out at the fairgrounds and just have games, just different learning things that the kids can kind of hear about. And then we're starting to go back with some of our programs, like Ambassadors got started last night. We'll have Clover Buds kicking off here in the middle of October. So lots of new things that are kind of restarting for the beginning of the 4-H year as we're coming to.
Ambassadors are the older youth? And
Yes.
Clover Buds are the younger youth, so we're reaching the whole kid.
Yep.
Any questions for Brandy?
So
Bigger or
The FFA members, so they have a smaller involvement within the fair. They can participate both in 4-H and FFA. Those FFA members, they have to be in that 7th grade and above. And then they can just choose, you know, if they'd like to participate and whatnot. There is the, like, we do have the rule between 4-H and FFA, they can't exhibit, you know, their animals in both divisions. They do have to choose. So we seem to have more that just in that 4-H side, just because they have to qualify to move on to that state level. So,
More active than
yes, that, right now they are, yeah.
very active.
They do. Definitely, yeah, we're trying to kind of work together to get kids to participate in both of the programs, so.
State fair.
Yes.
Before I realized, right, they're actually pulled the animals out of the building.
Yes, they did.
You reported on your.
We were okay, all of our animals, thankfully, you know, kids did a really good job of taking care of them and whatnot. We had some really, really good success with some of our kids. We had, you know, beef, we had cat or dairy, we had some sheep that went up, some hogs. One of our participants, Aubrey Kirkart, actually had the reserve champion market beef animal at the state fair. So she was able to participate in that with the ribbon auction. So a very, very high honor to her and our family, but all of our kids, I mean, did an outstanding job. And they also, in addition to showing, they have to participate in livestock interviews. So it's a test to kind of see what their knowledge is with their project area. So we had some kids that were finalists for that too. So very, very well rounded.
He's such a terrific mentor for our youth. All of it.
Wrap up by saying
You got time.
we have one other staff member who is at a conference today, so he's not able to be here. His name is Brody Wright, and he's a SNAP Ed educator. And his position is grant funded, so you do not support him in the MOA, but thankfully, we are thankful for you offering space for him in our office. And so he teaches nutrition, and he has classes at the Pipestone Brown Elementary School. So he goes in monthly and does lessons with those kids. So
This program is SNAP.
SNAP Ed. So SNAP is the, you know, food support program, right? And SNAP Ed is the education piece that goes along with that. So the University of Minnesota Extension has that grant to be able to do that. But those positions are all funded through the grant. So it's nice to have Brody as part of our team too. So, yeah, and thank you for our new office space. We're really excited about it.
They're working on the driveway today.
Okay.
That base laid in there, packed in, so it'll be pouring concrete real soon. So
Okay, great.
good progress.
Yeah. Anything else for us? We appreciate your time today.
Hey, thank you.
So public hearing actually is for PDC. And there's 2 applications that were received. One was for lot 9 and one was for lot 10. But the lot 10 has been withdrawn, put on hold. We did not get a building permit for that, so
Sales have to be the project.
yeah, something, so they're not gonna be building in 2023, so. In my mind, that one is again, something huge, so it's like that would be. That's what it was.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order, we should open the public hearing by motion this time. Thank you. Or legal.
We're looking to, do the public hearing for lot 9, lot 10. That's been withdrawn for that hold, so you have the paperwork for lot 9. Originally, just to note, this is nothing that affects the project, but the original application did have the incorrect house numbers. Again, provide them with house numbers, and again, that's something that could be up just make sure we're on the ones that are for lot. Yep. So, and we got the building permit. The building permit was not submitted with the application, but I did get that. Open, so we need that for the public hearing, so we did get that. Big gate. And yes, this is for a twin home on lot.
Each lot. That's on their street. South.
On the back of page 4, you have the subdivision of Noble Second map. Flat layout there for it. And lot 9 is circled. That'd be correct as the southeast lot.
Close the public hearing.
Oh, 7. Thank you.
Here's another application, of the house lodge. And so I provided you with that, copies of that application. And he was originally looking to get building right away. I did explain to him the procedure and I gave him an estimate on the abatement amount, and he decided that he was gonna hold off so that he could follow through with the application procedure. So
And would also elaborate on why it is that we have to sit in the procedure and how to publicize the official paper and
Yep, we have to publish the public hearing for 10 days before. So that it kind of implies that it ends up, it will, the tentative date for the public hearing will be October 10th. And scheduling that on October 10th at 10 o'clock.
anything more for us? Or you can join us. Also then for the- You might. Great, thank you so much. Yeah,
No, he's driving. He's coming in person. Yeah. Recommend due recess, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, what we might have should have done is just have it.
She brought her budget stuff along. I don't think she did, so.
Well, it was 10. We'll take a break and stuff.
Okay.
It's 10:29, we're back out of recess. Next on the agenda, that's 10:30, we got Nick Burton, bid opening.
This is our third box culvert project of the year. There's two culverts. This project, should be a map attached. They're on 80th Avenue, just south of our, County State Highway 2. One's for Elmer Township and one's for Eden Township. We originally didn't plan on doing these until next year, but the state had, these are relatively cheap projects and the state had just a wee little bit of special town bridge left. So they asked if we could use that by the end of the year. And we said, yep. And something approved. So that's how one of them got
Good deal.
funded. And then the other, I think they're found some bonding money. So this is all essentially all bonus money for us.
We have completion, we have this season, or is it open?
So next year completion, I don't know if we get any bids if we said they were due this year, yeah, and everybody's full now, you know, if they get materials, so. Oh, yeah, we can see why you would be.
It is 10:30 now, so, yeah. Yep. Jared?
All right. Okay, so. Looks like we have 3 bids today. Midwest Contracting, RNG Construction, and ANC Excavating. Those would be ones I would expect to see. They're the low bidders for us. First one is ANC Excavating out of Marshall. $216,495.60. $216,495.60. Next bid, RNG Construction out of Marshall. There been $235,831.60. $235,831.60. And the final bid is Midwest Contracting Commercial. There been $254,301. $254,301. Engineer's estimate, we had that at $304,523. $304,523. Quite the excellent surprise, but tells me we were maybe a little bit high since they were grouped together fairly tight. Yep. Yep, but either way, these are excellent numbers and I am thrilled with them. So I would like to confirm math, but, I would say if you're comfortable awarding contingent on the math. Checking, that would be good.
So your recommendation is take a little bit of A and C.
Yes.
I'll make that motion. Take that was.
I,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can haul the equipment to one job and then just drive it to the next. So that'll be some. Yeah. Oh, that's great news. Great.
There is a busy fireplace in that, that it has access to the.
Okay, we specify that they can't landlock it. So they'll, one will have to be open before they can.
Into the, or with the big door.
Right, right. No, everybody has a way out.
Water. It's cold.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't know what it is.
We have our normal requirements,
Contract.
yeah, that's all in the contract for disposal. If there's no water, then it doesn't matter. If there's water, then we have to use. We have been local DNR guy, he's actually let us work. No work time frame before. He's checked it out and like. Remember what his criteria are, but it's worked out for us before. It let us know. Okay.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Keep those minnows happy.
Great day.
Thank you, guys. Brian's here. Yep, Brian's here. That works great.
Morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning. But knowing it works really good. Just.
Good morning, once again, thank you for having me discussing, your, courthouse roof and assisting with that. And kind of introducing what Garland does is a full service manufacturer of roofing products and building envelope products. As Steve may have said, I've actually been working with the county for a couple of years now, helped out with a walkout project with some CMU, some concrete failures that were happening on the wall, so we were able to help out with stopping water there, assisting with some engineering over at the highway department. But now looking at the conditions and replacement of the roof here for the courthouse. So for those of you unfamiliar, Garland is a full service manufacturer of roofing products. We're based out of Cleveland, Ohio. We've been in business for nearly 130 years. Work with quite a few counties throughout Minnesota. We're a national company. But what we really do is we focus on providing services from cradle to grave on whether it's doing core cuts and finding out data on your roof, providing the services to inspect your roof, and really then getting to the point where we're putting together budgets and planning so that contractors can bid on the project that we're working on, and then we turn to kind of a project manager in helping out the county and all of our owners with a one-stop shop for what they need to get accomplished. So, like I said, the big thing for us is we're focused on long-term warranties and long-term high-performance systems. So we'll go into depth a little bit on the current system that you have on your facility here and some of the other ones. But for us, it's ensuring quality and ensuring long-term purchases for counties, schools, municipalities that need to have focus on life cycle costs and savings versus, hey, we're gonna purchase a 15-year roof, and we're gonna replace it in 15 years, and another 15 years after that, we'll keep going back after that. So how we really accomplish that? You know, you've got your commodity approach, kind of your standard design approach, where go out, hire a consulting design firm, come in, pay them, hire contractors, they come in, and then you have multiple bidders on that project. What we do is we kind of take that model upside down. We said, okay, well, if you're going to be working directly with and getting a warranty from the manufacturer of your roofing system, wouldn't it be nice to be working directly with them and say, hey, I know the guy and I know the company that actually is going to be standing behind this system at the end of the day. And that's what we do. So instead of bidding it out and saying, hey, we hope that we're going to get a good manufacturer and a contractor who knows what is going on and how they're going to do the work, we assist with that process, and then we stand behind the system as the warrantor of it. Through the bidding process, we make sure we're getting apples to apples comparisons. We're really reducing the risk and liability of owners and county that we work with. So with all that said, what we do and really what we're focused on when it comes to looking at your roof and your conditions right now, we want to look at, there's a few things I can tell really jumping up on a roof of, okay, what could be the problem here and what do we want to see differently from this type of roof? We focus on proper design, proper application, quality materials, and regular inspection. So what that means is you're kind of getting that full package for ensuring you have a good quality system. And when that occurs, that you've some of the things that we're seeing on your roof right now, maybe not so much, you may, missing one of those pillars. There could be something there. So this is a picture of inside your facility. After this, looking over here, there's another leak, but these seem to be relatively commonplace on your facility. So what we want to do is avoid that. There's kind of a common misconception that roofs leak. They shouldn't. If you have a high quality system and you're purchasing something that's well designed and has good slope, you shouldn't have that problem. We want to avoid that. We want to make sure that we're completing a system where you're not having to spend money on, okay, let's call the repair company out here and get this done. It should just be covered at that point. Roof systems that we're putting on and we're working on should be on for no less than, really 50 years is the type of system we want to put on there with minimal maintenance of just maintaining flashings or whatever it may be versus the, hey, let's go chase leaks every couple of years or every spring we're having these big issues. So when it comes to kind of design flaws and issues with your roof, the type of system what you have is called a ballasted rubber roof, also known as EPDM, but that's more of the kind of like picture. But essentially it's a single ply. And so this one piece of rubber is laid over top of your insulation, attached to the sides, they put metal on it, and that helps pin it down. But it's the rock ballast that's on top of it that holds the system in place. These are the cheapest roof systems to purchase. They're the most expensive to own. As you're going to typically see these get 15 years, you're going to have to, like I said, come back, do multiple repairs on them to stop leaks. And you're into that cycle of, okay, when we're talking about a 50-year roof versus a 15-year roof, you add up all those costs of, hey, we've got to replace this thing 3 times before we're done with this one roof. That's what we talk about when we're looking at life cycle costing. So, unfortunately, and this will be kind of discussed, I'm sure, in depth when we go over a budget, like many other counties and prisons or jails, I should say, you do have a concrete deck, which adds a little layer of complexity where the system that's in place right now requires that the insulation that's existing, the type of system we're looking at, be removed. And you need to clean, prime that deck, add asphalt, and build it up for a new tapered system to drain this roof properly. And between just draining it properly and keeping water out, that's really the 2 main things we need this roof to do. And there's the kind of added factor of the skylights that has been somewhat, I don't know, involved in this project, but it was something I noticed pretty quickly, and Steve and I discussed that your entryway skylights have been leaking, and I know part of this project that we've included in our budget is actually replacing this system and having an engineer come up with a structural piece that would go through there, and then adding metal roofing system over the top of that. So that might be worth a discussion of talking about when, okay, is this, we want to include this, do we not? We have it built into our budget to have that done. And then when it comes to kind of materials and quality materials, like I was talking, what you're starting to experience on your roof is normal fatigue that occurs with these roofs, which is over time, they start to shrink. And it's from UV exposure, it's from degradation, it's from water that could be sitting on top of it. But just overall, these membranes begin to shrink and they will start to pull in at the walls. Unfortunately as well, when it comes to design, there's numerous coping caps and parapets that are very low on your roof that we need to address from a design perspective when redoing this roof. And then normal kind of fading of metal roofs. We included this in our budget, as well as replacing, there's 2 metal roofs up there that need to be added in. But some fading of the paint and issues that are occurring there with those. Above and beyond the roof, this is actually what Steve and I first looked at, was some of the wall issues that you're looking at. This is a starting place for that, making sure you're not getting water going into your coping caps and into the actual parapets that are going to then leak into your masonry walls. So this is going to lead to those types of problems. So maybe requires a little bit different approach that's outside of this scope of work, but it's something that you'll want to look at. And that's what we focused on is, okay, the roof is great, we need to get that done, but how do we fix all the problems with the building envelope for the county?
I can expand on that just a second, Mr. Chairman. That area that Brian just showed us, that's directly above the community room. And when we get hard east rains, not this year, obviously, but we are getting damage to the tiles on the east wall in the community room. So the water is coming down and those masonry joints are shot that are there. And he's showing that some efflorescence are coming through too. So there's water behind there as well. So that is an issue that does need to be taken care of as well when we move forward with the project. Yeah, the windows we do have a bid for replacing those windows in the sheriff's office right now. And Wayne is attempting to get a second bid just to see where he can do, but he's not had very good luck getting a second one yet. Go ahead, Brian, sorry.
So what we're looking at and what we're proposing and budgeting is that we address counties, just referencing, and I'll show a couple of pictures of the smaller ones that we did, is a multi-ply system. And the reason we want to do that versus a single ply system, which is some of the things that I talked about with single ply systems is the opposite for the moment. And what we're looking at is building a system that has redundancy. Some of the things that you'll know and why the rubber systems are popular amongst the market is that they're easy to install and they're cheap at initial price. Like I said before, more expensive overall, total cost of ownership. But also that what happens is there's a lot of contractors who are able to install these systems kind of right away. They get approved by a manufacturer who can do that. They may not be more first in the actual design that they need to be done to make sure that you're draining water properly. That's where we come in. We actually create and assist with the development of documents to bid the project out that have been adopted by the county. So for us, multi-ply roofs, we're gonna have the lowest life cycle cost. Like you said, 40 to 50 years of ownership. You're gonna have multiple layers of reinforcement. Really what it is you're getting out of that for the cycle of, hey, we need to buy a single ply, it's cheaper, but then we're gonna pay more on the back end to repair this. I wish that would all come up at one point. So what that looks like, multiple layers, we really what you're gonna do is you're gonna have these installed in hot asphalt. So, as I mentioned before, take it down to the concrete deck just because concrete decks are a little more difficult to deal with versus metal where you can go through existing insulation. And really the best scenario you can have is you have a metal deck, there's really good insulation. You add on top of that to get the code and then you're off and running with for your new system. That's not the case, unfortunately, where it needs to be adjusted. So, but what it does is like I said, multiple layers. And what we do is a modified belt up where we have basically a asphalt and rubber combined to make these systems. And then we use multiple layers and coat it in a flooding gravel coat. And so that is a better protection from UV, hail, dispersion of water, all these benefits that are going to come in and make this system last quite a bit longer than what you would get just out of a standard ballast or an exposed rubber.
First layer, that's some rubber product, or that's a felt product.
Yeah, so the underneath the asphalt, that's actually what it is. I don't. So what it is, it's a sheet that goes in and what you do is you take normal asphalt and that coats over top of where you can see these rolls here, and that gives a scrim embedded in it, a reinforcement scrim. But that asphalt is injected with rubber. So you have this flexible, I can bring out a piece afterwards, but there's multiple layers of these actual rolled sheets that go out. And so we alternate those layers to make sure that we're getting multiple plies. The asphalt is used to adhere them. So what you're seeing at that system is actually a finished job, finished completed roof system. And then they're coming back and putting the rock on top of that in a layer of asphalt to cover it up.
That is rubber impregnated asphalt.
It's asphalt impregnated with rubber, correct? Yeah, I'll pass around a sample here in a moment of what that actual sheet looks like, a small sample. But you'll have multiple layers of that. That's correct. Yeah. So that gets embedded. And that's, you can see this is a law enforcement center we did for Canby, Ohio County a few years ago. And that's what that looks like at the end. It's covered in rock, but that rock is actually embedded in the asphalt over top of the cap sheet. So, and that's what you're seeing here is that's the cap sheet over top of the base sheet. There's multiple felts below that.
This finished here, so underneath that, you've got insulation.
Correct. Yeah. So your total stack up for this project would be you have your concrete deck. You then have a cleaned and primed concrete layer there. And then you use asphalt to install multiple layers. Sorry about that. Multiple layers of insulation, tapered insulation to make sure we have proper drainage. You then have a cover board that goes on top of that to give the protection of that insulation. And then we go directly to the cover board there. So yeah, there's multiple layers that go on here.
Brian, that appears to be a smaller size of rock than we have up on our roof now. Ours is pretty good size rock, about some size of your fist.
Correct. Yeah. So the ballast system, depending on kind of ratings, or some differences there depending on roof. It's typically just going to be a rubber rock that's dropped on top of single layer of rubber.
So this is the insulation portion.
That's the cover board. Yeah, so that's above the insulation. Actually, that's built up on top of it. And then that rock gets embedded in the asphalt. That's correct. Yeah, cover board. Correct. Yep. We would get to achieve R30, you do that using polyiso insulation. Typically we do an 1/8" taper on a re-roof. Then we start the drains, so we'll do a 12x12 or 16x16, whatever we can achieve with the existing drains where they're located, as long as the system works out. And we'll do that as a 1/8" per foot and make sure that we're driving the water directly into those drains. Yeah, we just wrapped that up in, that was, would have been in May or June. Yeah. Yeah. So, so for doing the roof replacement, it's pretty standard of how we approach this with all of our owners. Obviously, the planning phase, we go through kind of where we're at right now. We're at that point where we're saying, hey, budgeting and project timeline. There's a lot of benefits to where you're at right now with this project if you're moving forward. Where you bid it out and kind of choose your time or open up that time, which is going to make it better for contractors who are going to be bidding on this project. So there's again, you can take advantage of that. So once we move into the design bidding phase, what we do is assist with that design of the replacement. We'll assist and provide the detailed bid documents. We then move to a mandatory pre-bid meeting where we'll have contractors in here in a room just like this, go through all of that information, make sure they understand the project so we don't have anybody come back and saying, oh, well, hey, I didn't understand this, or we've got to make this change. Nope. Got detailed specifications. I can pass those around, show you the drawings as well. Bid opening on board, we'll do the analysis, assist with recommendations. Then on to the construction phase where we do pre-construction meeting, on-site field inspections. I'm down here actually working with the contractor, ensuring the quality so that at the end of the day, I can send out a letter that says, yep, you've got a Garland approved system. I've inspected it. Here's your warranty. Anything that comes up in the future with the project, your system, you come directly to me, work with Garland on that so that we can assist. So what we put together for this includes the replacement of the skylight, which is going to be a significant portion of this, is we're in that $480,000 to $510,000 for the roof. And so again, we're having to replace all the insulation on your job, which is not atypical in kind of what we run into a lot of the time, but not so much for law enforcement centers or jails where we have concrete decks, and we've got to address that. But this would include also the replacement of the 2 standing seam metal roofs that are on there, installation of the standing seam, engineering for the replacement of the skylights, and then all of everything from cradle to grave labor material. With that said, we've got a few references that I'm sure we've worked with quite a few different projects in this area or nearby, and really throughout Minnesota. We have done numerous projects with school districts, but be happy if there's ever an opportunity to say, hey, we'd like to see one of these. I'm happy to take a group or a tour to check them.
And then what would the exterior look like? It's just the rim metals looking.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So what we'd have to do is put in, we have an engineer that's kind of ready to move forward with this, where we have all the drawings available. I got those a couple of months ago. Working with them, they have to develop a package to make sure that we, span that. We would then install a deck installation and then do the metal above.
Drains to the black dots,
That's correct. Correct. Those are the existing drains, yes.
1/8 inch per foot. Now, or is that what it's going to be on the new?
That's what it would be on the new road. Yeah, so good question. Probably going to go up. Well, you've got to have a base layer. You've got to have minimum of 5 inches on there. So if you look at that drawing, you've got it marked up in red is where we're going to have to raise some of the perimeters to achieve that. Okay. So you're probably going to be realistically at your highest point, 6.5 inches, 7 inches in those areas.
Raise the parapets or whatever.
Yeah, so it is, and the reason why is what we do is what we require is a 8-inch minimum flashing item. So what we don't want is that kind of the field of the roof to be matching up, now only have 2 inches. That's where if you get back up, you're gonna have that water going in. So, we follow kind of the NRCA, which is the National Roofing Contractors Association, and their guidelines say, hey, no matter where you are, you want to have a minimum of 8 inches of flashing. We'll raise those up, usually just wood blocking we install there, wrap those over and create that condition. It is, yeah, but these, we've had numerous instances where we've been working with other clients where we've had single ply roofs and they've had ours. And in many conditions, in many systems, or many scenarios, when there's a hailstorm or whatever it may be, we've ended up replacing all the single ply systems, and ours are in perfect condition. Because we've got that protective layer and they're a little bit thicker, you're not gonna have that type of damage. So, now when it comes to, especially, you're talking weather-wise, from the cold and hot, the systems that we got, modified built-up systems, are going to be the best in the market for what's called thermal shock. And what that means is when you're going from, in springtime, where we've got a nice, beautiful 50-degree day, and then all of a sudden it plummets down to 0 degrees in April, and we've got snow. So, the tensile strength of our systems are going to be able to withstand that, and that's why we're able to put on those longer warranties. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, we don't see those. I mean, what you're talking about when you see the shrinking of the rubber systems, yeah, you're not going to have that on, because at the flashing point where that's occurring most of the time, you're going to have actually 4 layers that are multiple. Your thickest point is going to be basically at that edge where then it comes up and you run your flashing at the top. We always put a flashing backer and a mineral surface, and you on flashings from a that always touch down to the field of the roof. That helps too, because a lot of the times what's occurring with rubber roofs is the UV is what's harming them. Yes, it is. We want to avoid that, so we cover up as much as we can.
You have a chance to look at the drains, how are they?
There were a few that were need to be inspected more, but I think we might be okay.
That you can take care of?
Correct. Yeah. So what we do when we're bidding out these projects is we'll put in, well, yeah, so we can always put in a certain amount of money if we want to have money built in there. But we'll actually ask the contractors and say, what's their price to replace a drain bowl if we discover it's cracked during that? And we want to have that money built in because of unforeseen conditions that we pay. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's almost a given that you're going to have something. What we want to do is we want to control those costs. We want to make sure that they're in place so that we don't say we're opening up the floodgates for any type of change.
With this, are you going to give us a drop dead top number?
So what we do is our budget number, how we obtain these is I've developed, as you can see, a scope of work. It's a little more advanced. We can discuss that afterwards to show you the actual scope of work, everything that I put together. That was sent to multiple contractors and said, hey, what do you think something like this would cost? So these numbers are actually developed from or provided by contractors. We don't provide a drop dead. We actually bid it out with the hopes of obviously getting a lower price than what we have. This one's a little unique in that we need to, before bidding it out, we need to go to engineering and have the system designed for the placement of the skylight before we can really move forward, so that we can have those details in there for the contractors so they understand what they're doing. What's that? It has its own drain, so we're just going to operate basically like that skylight does. So it would just come down the metal roof and drain into that lower section below it.
It's just in sheet metal, that's still gonna be subject to get dented up, that ice falling.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put on probably a pretty thick system. I mean, that's really all you can do at this point. I mean, unless we need to address the ice falling from above, that's anything you put on there
Yeah.
is gonna be subject to, yeah, you're just. It's unfortunate, but it needs to be addressed above to stop that condition, stop the harm to that area.
Be hard to control that as much as it's south facing. You know, we got those nice warm winter days and the snow and the ice tends to slide right off the roof and then build up ice dams and this is kind of the way it is, unfortunately. Fortunately, we've never seen one go through it yet.
So this is, what I've actually got up here is a life cycle cost comparison that was provided to. That was developed by the Army Corps of Engineers, when they're doing an investigation a few years back of all of their facilities. So this is a study document that they provided, and they were looking at that of, okay, if we go with modified build-ups versus any type of single ply, what does that cost? And anytime I've done the analysis and provided the numbers and gone through that and shown, you're usually going to be somewhere by the time you get to that 45, 50-year point, double if not triple your cost to the taxpayers with this type of system. So, and the reason we're able to do that, I mean, when you're talking about these having to replace them every 15 years, you've still got to bring it up to code. You're going to have to change all the perimeter heights that are going to accommodate that. So, you know, factor in inflation, you will not be touching this roof for 30 years before you have to do what's called a restoration. Right now, that goes for about $5 a square foot, but even adding in that number, you can see that's what that actual little bump is up on the blue line. But they're taking in and accommodating that. Okay, what does it take to replace these roofs versus just purchasing now a little bit higher to do this roof? So the the data behind that and the purchasing, spending a little bit more now to save later on, is backed up through really a lot of roofs that we've done and the studies that have been done by the Army Corps of Engineers.
So 50 years from now, with a multi-layer system, when the time comes, 50 years, time, how much more that is that?
Yeah, so but what we do a lot of these systems where we've got, I actually did this for a county in Wisconsin, is you're able to take it down to the existing installation and not take it down all the way down to the deck. So once you take it, you can remove the existing multi-layer system, build on top of that. So you'd have to clean that off and then use hot asphalt to add on, get it to code and still build that up. So the idea would be that with this building, you'd never have to go back down to the deck. They never have to remove that installation. As long as you're working with a manufacturer says, yeah, we're okay with using existing insulation. That is something that has been in the market, kind of new, where they're saying, hey, you know, if you're buying a system, we've got to replace all the insulation regardless. We don't do that. If this was, like I said before, if this was a scenario where these could do that, we would. There are cases where people have been able to use the type of insulation or reuse insulation by pinning through to the concrete deck. What we've experienced and the risk you take is spalling out and damaging your concrete deck. So when you're looking to make a purchase and you're saying, we want to have this roof on here for the next 50, 60 years, the key is to do it right and not take those risks and not take on additional costs for repairs that may have to be done to the roof. And that's what we focus on, is getting a scope of work that's going to last for that time.
Whole shingle project, you mean?
Top square, flat part up there. That just, is that a little roofing product they put on that?
That's just, there's a rubber roof on that, as far as, yeah,
That's-
just rubber roof, rubber membrane on the top, on the flat. I don't remember what year that is. Can't remember when it was done, to be honest with you. It was- Oh, the slates, those are at least 30-year shingles. Yeah.
Out for us to contract with their project manager.
Well, you're actually not contracting with government. So what we do is, the services that we provide are included. So there's never gonna be a bill that comes from Garland that says, here's the fee for your design. Here's the fee for all the other things. Separately from that, engineering, what we've got to accomplish for the skylights, that goes through a third party. But, the price that you have that I've presented includes everything. It's turnkey. So, where you could go, I mean, alternately, if you were looking at a system like this, I mean, there's competitors out there, but you'd want to go and there could be an approach that says, okay, well, we're going to hire a consultant. Well, what you're doing is you're hiring a consultant, paying them for developing the documents that we provide with our system. So, what we call, really your soft cost fees that you're putting in there and paying someone else to put those in. And there's no guarantee of what manufacturer you're actually going to get in the warranty and who they're going to stand by. Are they going to actually have someone out there who's on site inspecting that job and ensuring the quality you're going to get from that system? So we are an employee-owned company. So when we develop something and we put something on there, we want to make sure that it's of the best quality, because the last thing that I want is the same thing that the county wants, is we don't want any warranty. And we do that by making sure that we're doing proper development of when it comes to project inspections, getting the core cuts, developing what we need to do. I mean, this is, if you said, hey, we're going to move forward with this project, I'd come down here and I'd spend some time. I need to detail this project out, get more information from it, and develop a pretty scope of work and specifications that we help out with. So, yes, you're right. We are not exclusively the owners of modified built-up systems, but what we do is a little bit different in how we approach the working directly with the manufacturer who's putting this together. There are none. There are none. We're a manufacturer through the products. It's our systems, that are put on there. So we sell and it's just really, it's the performance products. If you're we sell these pieces here. The waterproofing layer is what we sell. Insulation, cover board, that's not us. These are commodity products. So what we're developers of is really what we call performance products or waterproof. Correct. Yep. No, they would be bidding on the entire project. So they would be providing a turnkey number for that. So including the
You're supplying that material.
they're purchasing the materials. Correct.
They all. You're getting the same price for you with that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that.
Are they buying?
They wouldn't, they would have included, so you'd actually, the county would be contracting with that contractor who is low bidder. So, But that's aside from any pre-engineering you would need to do, which we do for this project and the skylights. That would be the only fee. So your cost would be engineering to develop that, and then your cost for the actual rebuild. So, and I know we discussed, I think there was an email afterwards, our first meeting. You know, there's quite a bit of the money is going to be in that skylight one. $5,000 worth is part of that project.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we have no, if there's, I mean, an engineering firm were to develop that and create, it's a fairly. No, it's not gonna be anything that's gonna be challenging really to any structural engineer. Yeah, they should be able to develop that. So if the county wanted to go out and say, hey, we'll put together a system. Yeah. Sure, yeah. No.
Look at that and say, it's not gonna be split, you know,
I understand. Yeah, it is, and it's,
What is this?
I'll get that to you, and then I'll hold up anymore. I've got it on here. I don't want to misquote it. So, but yeah, it's an involved project. And because of, it's a smaller area, your square footage is going to go up. If this was a bigger project, say like the photo I showed you of Candy Ojai County,
Yeah.
huge project. So we've got, you know, limited spaces, your mobility that's going in there, or mobilization we've got to account for. Then you've got removal of a small area. We're taking it all the way down to the deck. Your square foot price goes up significantly. Now, with that said, this is a budget. We're going to bring in contractors to bid on this with the hopes of getting a vote. So we would want to see those numbers and sure that, you know, work with numerous contractors who are approved applicators in Garland that we worked with before. So they're not just testing out their skills.
Our responsibility is the stewards, absolute taxpayers, dollars, always, what you pay for, and materials and quality as well too, so we don't want to go for both in necessarily and not have a project that's going to be complicated. So I appreciate your approach to this, and I also appreciate your indulgence as we go forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We got a little sticker shop here.
I understand. And there's, yeah, it's a little bit different. So, yes.
What did you find available?
Yeah, so, by the time you're doing this project next year, there's no issues. So typically when we've had, the big thing is if you're kind of referring to construction products in general, where we've had problems, we've seen that slow down quite a bit, where for a long time, it was the installation that was costing. And that would have been right in the thick of when you were doing your last project, so I'm sure that's not kind of or subject that was part of it, but that's gone down from multiple months to, you know, maybe a few weeks. But when it comes to fitting the project out in your future, how do you find if you open the window? We can have that discussion.
Good.
Well, thank you, Brian. Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yep. I appreciate your time.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies for running late.
So I, slide you with, kind of the outline where our budget is, where we're getting the past few years, and how we budget fee. Letter outlining the county support and, really touching on what we do at the Pipestone County Historical Society. And then also a copy of our 2003 annual report. That really gives some Or look at some of our programs. Numbers. We've been very conservative in, the work that we do. We do have, one full-time, two part-time, two part-time staff people, and we're open 6 days a week. And we are, really kind of working at the height of our capacity with the people that we serve. So we would like to expand our reach by, getting into an internship program and working with, training upcoming museum professionals and being able to specifically, being able to reach more of our public. We also would, I would also like to be able to compensate the staff, benefits, of which, we currently are not offered medical insurance. So we're looking into that type of a thing, because we also want to make sure that we're being competitive for retaining employees. That's right. That's right. So those are things that we are, looking for. We're also been turning our attention, as you know, I know a number of you have seen our new renovations that we've done at the museum. And I have to say that noticeably the public is staying longer, even twice as long in the museum, reviewing history and what we have to offer in there. So that's been very exciting over the past year. But we're also looking into, we always keep in mind those that are interested in our programming, particularly with the Pipestone County connection, and they don't live here currently. We have half of our membership is more than an hour away. So, but they are invested in what we do. So we'd like to serve them in what ways we can. When we were, dealing with COVID, and we weren't open a lot of the time for that, we really turned our attention to our website. We rebuilt the website. We put a lot that we hadn't been able to get to in a digital form and offer that online to our members. We've been also getting into recorded programming and offering that through our YouTube channel. We would, as it comes down to our website, we're still, we've been doing it all in-house. So we would like to have our website overhauled, because as we have looked at the renovations in the museum building itself, which is more of, the image that we want to portray, where we're going, what we're doing. We also realize that our digital presence needs to be just as good. So considering that as some advertising, that's also serving our public that way.
Take on the added responsibility of the lodge. It's not just building and keep it. Right. Look at the history there, both of your main area and now the lodge area, and of course those murals and so forth upstairs, and how the extensive work you do, tuck pointing, and you just heard our presentation on roofing and so forth. Yeah, and I also appreciate and recognize that you are very, very proactive in looking for grants and so forth too, to do that. And it's a great service to you. So.
And I did want to touch on the buildings. I knew that this would be something we would need to just at least talk about where we are on this project. So the Pipestone County Historical Society does own 5 historic properties that we maintain. And we work on preservation projects or rehabilitation with those buildings so that they can be in use and they don't deteriorate.
Truly, some living museums, living history.
Right. And so obviously, our big project this year, for a while now, is the Fair Strand block, and we were awarded nearly
nearly $200,000 grant through the state to start the rehabilitation work, and that was just with the north elevation or the front facade of that building. And so they began the work in June, with high hopes to be done fairly quickly, and you know how that goes. So we are nearing the end here. We working with the State Historical Society to make sure that everything is done appropriately. One of the things that is very, very important is to make sure that the mortar is matched correctly. Mortar that would go with the structure is, you know, what was originally the materials. They're also looking at the coloring. They're looking at the profile of the bead that's in there, so it will be perfect when it's completed. So that was done. They also they want to come down and do a site visit themselves before it's completed. So I believe that's what we're kind of waiting on now. But when you stop work like this, you know, the contractors, they have to go work somewhere else. So we're really hoping, I almost just keep saying, it'll be in September.
Hopefully they don't wait too long in winter time.
Oh, right, and, you know, I've talked to the architect about that. And that was actually something that came up when the building was originally constructed. They built it over the winter, which is not good for your mortar. Okay, I can't recall that right now, but yeah, I do know that it probably froze on the upper levels before it was secured, so. We're not gonna get into that, no. So, but the plans with that is, when this round is completed, we already have 2 other rounds lined up and ready to go that we would then apply for this grant money to complete. So when we did the construction drawings for the project, we had them do 3 separate projects. One thing that also has happened with this front facade of the Ferris Grand building is that the middle section of the parapet, which is the arch, it was actually leaning more than was expected. So it was leaning to the south onto the building. They did remove that and completely rebuild it. And we were concerned that they would find more in the structure that they needed to completely remove, rebuild, and now that was actually it. So that was a relief. So when this is completed, then we'll go on and we'll get the other 3 sides of the building tuck pointed. There is a roofing project involved in this as well. So that presentation was interesting, because that is a very big roof as well.
I started out by adding 2,000 to the budget from 44 to 46. So I can add that to it and you can evaluate that as we move past the 26th. No, not even. 1% levy increase is about $90,000. So it would be pretty minimal. Yeah. I'll work it in there and we'll discuss it, all the requests on the 26th, where we set the preliminary levy.
No, all through this work, we did close it to the public while this construction is happening. But otherwise, we do offer tours of the Masonic Hall as our own staffing allows. So by request generally, and we generally have 2 to 3 employees there that we can send in.
That is something that 90% of people in the area don't know about.
Probably so,
And they should.
yes.
And it's-
And that's, we've been working on, oh, well, there's that, so there is, only the steps are available right now. Yeah. But, we do try to let people know about it, we also have, a online walking tour that you can access through an app called Pocket Sites, and we hope to be adding more tours, but that takes you through the downtown historic district. Talks about the Hall, talk about it separately on our website, we're figuring out how to bring more attention to that.
Coming next week, I think.
Well. I was thinking of the Minnesota Digital Libraries. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, so we'll talk.
I know a couple guys on the board of Plum Creek. And then those-
If we can line something up in advance, we can for sure be able to facilitate that.
Don't, can you get? Right, thought you had access to that.
Don't like to think in that way, that's not how you should.
Present it, you don't want to present, coming back door.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, any further questions, officers? And of course, you understand the process here that we have to step our levy by the end of September, not to exceed, we always can go on from there, and we're not specifically accepting or denying the question. I'll take this for advisement. And I do concur with your assessment of the budget before we get with you and gotta take care of people. And yes.
Thank you.
Any closing, I don't want to rush you at all, see if I get some patient waiting for us. Anything else you'd like to say? Or?
Well, I can talk about all kinds of things, but I don't want to move you up here, so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Helen, today, organized Germany. And, my two of us are looking at we're pretty invested in varying the offerings that we each. So first, I do want to say thank you for all the support that you have given us throughout the last couple of very tumultuous years. We in December settled into our new home, and that was a temporary home, and it has now become our permanent home. And so we have just been living on the edge for the last couple of years, but we're settling in, and some of the things that we have found is that we have way more foot traffic than we had before. We have a lot of people coming into our library, even compared to when we were attached to the school. So that when you consider that students were coming in because they had to for a class, or they were coming in for a study hall, that kind of thing, we have more people using our library in-house than when we were attached to the school. And this is for comparing 2022 and 2023. So, a little more fair because of the pandemic. Obviously, that dropped our numbers. You're on our way back up. You're right. Oh, yeah. I would definitely say that we want to say it's so nice to have you for us to be here, right? So we are going to have some people who did kind of work on industrial, maybe to that to our library. And you know, if you know, said like 4 miles. Before, and they did that, but community there, but if they wanted to do we also, I would say there is that level of, I'm a little bit surprised by it, the number of people who felt uncomfortable potentially about us being in school, that maybe they didn't articulate that, but now when they've walked in, they've said, it feels more welcoming. It feels, it's not as industrial, it's not as clinical, it's not as, and so I think people appreciate kind of our old 1952 building that we are currently living in. And it's been fun. And so obviously we have a remodel that's happening, which will kind of slow the brakes a little bit on people using our space, but in the end it will make it a much more useful space for everybody, because we finally have the ability to create spaces of comfort for every demographic, which will be with our remodel. And actually, that's part of my presentation is the fact that because we have so much support from the Minders family, that does relinquish some of the financial needs that we have. For instance, we don't have a building that we have to check point at the moment. Minders is taking care of all of those needs for us. So when we are done with this remodel, other than our old furnace and air conditioner and our roof, I believe is maybe 8 or 10 years old, everything will virtually be. And so we should really, in a lot of ways, be for a while. That's really it. So the downside of us moving, and the downside of becoming independent is the financial increase that we've had. So I'm gonna ask you to bear with me for a second. I'm gonna give you a piece of paper, but I want you to keep it on your desk. I know how everybody always wants to flip through everything. It's really exciting, but I want you to just hold on to it, and we're gonna go through it together.
Thank you.
And I do that. When you look at this from a bit, this is our staff, and our staff is our biggest asset. It is our biggest resource at the library. Collectively, we have over 50 years worth of experience serving. So you can open it. One, and you can see that we are also the biggest expense. Take up 75% of our library's budget, staffing costs. For the first time, we have, because we are now employees of the city, we now have medical insurance. And so that is huge for us as for staff retention, for recruiting new staff as need be, but it also is extremely expensive, as we are well aware. And that has put a tremendous burden on our city and county in terms of kind of sucking up those unexpected costs that come with that reallocation of us as employees. So if you open it up to all the way, you can see these are other expenses that I don't have control over. It's our building, our parking lot, our water, our electricity, maintenance, heat. Those are things, those utilities are things that I don't get to control in my budget, but I still need to provide. So if you open it up now, the resources that are being used every day, these are the resources, these are the expenses that I do control. It's our books, it's our printing, it's our technology, our audiobooks, it's our programming, it's all of those things. That's what I get to control. And we've been squeezed. So our move really squeezed that part of our budget very, very tight. As a matter of fact, it decreased $13,000 from 2022 because of the move. We supplemented that through grants, capital, and donations. As a matter of fact, 51% of our collection that our people. Um, So when we were part of the school, we got $17,000, or when we were out there, we had $17,000 of, cash that came in, revenue that came in that we were able to spend. That came from the, community ed fund. And so that $17,000 is no longer there, and so that was really. And so. Well, I'm not, you know what, I'm not gonna say anything. I wasn't here when that happened, but a lot of libraries and schools programming, right? So there is some funding from community ed that goes to the rec center for after-school programs and that kind of thing. And so my guess is that it was for some of that, but I don't know. I was not part of. I just honestly don't know. Basically eliminated completely. So that was a huge hit. And we're still doing great things. We have book clubs, CEO program was there at 6:45 this morning, and they did a program with us. Daycares come, homeschoolers, story times, progress is one of our newest and favorite clientele. They, as a matter of fact, chose to come to the library for their outing because they were coming to visit us and to the programs that we have and things like that. Our meeting rooms are used for county service providers. We have craft and news and team programs. We have a patron who works in the county. She's a contractor and she works in the county, and we are the only way she can submit her time card. Services. So we had flamenco dancers come, which was really exciting. It was a little outside of our typical program, and it was tremendous to see several native Spanish speaking families come to that program. And we actually had some that said thank you for finally having the program. And so we are reaching out into our community for demographic. Unfortunately, we don't contribute to the bottom line. We don't give money back. We are not a revenue source. The only thing that I can offer you is the service that we give to your community and your residents. And that just makes us a stronger community in the future. So if you flip over the page, this is my I'm asking for $15,000 increase across Pipestone County libraries because we are at a 60-40 split. And so that's $47,000 for Minders Community Library and $31,330 for Edgerton, for a total of $78,000. And then 36% of our active card holders are from outlying districts. So 36%. 36% of our proposed budget would be $83,000, but I'm only asking for 20% for us. So I feel bad that we don't provide any sort of revenue stream, but I think that what we do is really great work for our communities and our county. And so I know it's a lot. $15,000 is a lot. I do have our library. I will give this to you. It's our 2022, our 2023, and my proposed 2024. Basically, that 2024 number, if we do have an increase of $15,000 from the county, our portion of that at Minders Library would be $9,000 roughly, and that will get us a lot closer to where we were before our move. So all of those expenditures that I can do, that I'm in control of, that's what we're supplementing.
Schools, such. Sure, you still see student traffic in there, aren't you?
Yes, you do. After school is another, have students that come into the library. We've always had that. We are a safe place for kids to go after school, while waiting for mom and dad to pick them up or be done with work, and we can see that.
Well, and as a resource as well too, yes, a lot of things are online, but they're still not set for having that tangible.
There is, and we still have educators at the school. We still have teachers that work hand in hand with us that come and get library books from us and that we talk with and share resources. I have not, and I would say that we're probably in a position of just kind of settling in. We've had a lot of turnover at the school and the school board, and including the community ed director is no longer there, and so I think they've got to probably figure out some community ed things before they can start, counting out some money. But my hope is that I will be able to collaborate with the school board and with the principal and the community ed director and for programming that will benefit our kids. There, we did have at the school, and there was so there was staff in there, but I believe the person that they have in there now is, and I think maybe the test is, she's a school media specialist. Yeah. Yeah, so she, I believe is maybe overseeing the elementary and the high school.
So they are.
Like, and that is our. So, and I would also say, as you look at our numbers, know that Edgerton and Dina and Edgerton is in the same situation that we are. Dina provides fantastic services, all of those things. Every dollar is used there too for services, for programming and books and stuff as well.
The items that say school and kind, that's what the school used to cover,
Yes.
that they don't anymore because you're on your own.
Yes. And budget for 2024 is, we kind of spitballed it for 2023, and we were low in some areas and high in others. And so we're a little closer this time around than what we were before.
It's the remodel.
A really good question. So I hope that in this and they started. So really with kind of the inside spot. Of our patio and our parking lot, that stuff is done, and that would have been the second phase, but it became kind of our first phase, so that's done, which is, and we will have a beautiful green space out there and outdoor programming areas. It will be fantastic. And that is exactly.
The Edmonds portion of the grant. It does a fantastic job of Edmonds. Circulation is huge compared to population size. I think we never seen last year.
They do really, really well.
Find a lot of services for after school too, whatever
in there, there's ways. There.
Will tell you that circulation over in Edgerton is higher than. You know, Dina serves a lot of things for me, and that is a tremendous asset. We are the resources, when somebody who isn't online all the time and is actually using books and materials to stuff. And Dina does a lot of that. That was just down at the bottom. That was, had we asked for 36%, that's where that would be. That's just a comparison for you to kind of see what 36% looks like.
Yeah. So basically, we have our state required minimum that hasn't changed since like forever. Yeah, so that's 46,486, and that is divided 60-40. And that's the same percentage we use when we do the other appropriations to a 60-40. So it's 46,486. It gets split 60% to Pipestone, which is 27,891 and 60 cents, and Edgerton gets 18,594.40. So we'd add 15,000 of that and do the same split on that, basically, is what you're asking for. Yeah, got it. And I did a small increase. I just put in a couple $1,000s as a placeholder. So that would be we'd be adding additional 13,000 to what I've got on my number here. 66 to 68. So she's asking for 15. So that'd be another 13 on top of the 68. Yeah.
Sometimes we get a lot of budget. I guess I'm not sure. Sometimes it just depends on how it's counted and what we need. I'm not necessarily sure that they do.
Al, if any changes to Plum Creek's ask for 24, have you heard? Okay. So that would have to, their ask would have to be, I think they're about 3,000 if I remember right.
Does the city contribute?
Prior, so in 2022, this city was providing us about 175,000 plus other, they maybe picked up on some other stuff, and I'm not sure if all of that got allocated. And so coming to them next year, I did ask for 184. So that is a pretty substantial increase.
And just to throw it out there, they do get about 3 times more LGA than we do county program aids. We're getting state funds to cover those. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. We're gonna take a real brief break.
Well, yeah, I just kind of went through and looked at. Have our recipient auditor treasurer department. But, you know, have auditor treasurer election. Think that's. But,
We'll hit them all.
you know, just nothing substantial as far as expected changes with auditor treasurer. I kind of just want to, you know, what we've had in the past. And then with the audit again, going off of what our agreement is with iDaily, adding a little bit extra in case of single audit. And then for the election, with the, looking back to the previous, where there was presidential, because we will have 3 in 1 year with primary, or the presidential.
On the auditor treasurer salaries, didn't we just hire somebody part-time that would be additional to what we had in the past, which would be part of that increase?
So, yeah, so, in the 23 budget, we had, and I don't know exactly how Kathy had done it, but in the 23 budget, we were anticipating that our current part-time person was gonna go to 5 days. Now we have this new person, and I believe Kathy said she put him in, and he is currently only working 1 day a week. So the one thing with him versus the previous part-time person is we don't have any benefits with him because he is a first time. You know, we kind of were kind of doing 1.5 day, they get it up there, but at this point.
That wouldn't have been in the last year's budget.
We wouldn't, well, we anticipated, like I said, that the current part-time person was going to go full-time. So in a way, that should be a little bit of savings on the budget, but
Maybe we're gonna still replace the full-time person.
are you talking about the current,
Yes.
like,
Jody's position?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just look at that huge period. Well, you're 1 year, 1 day a week person, bill. That transition period.
at this point, no, but, you know, just because of the if there are some tasks, but at that, I don't know the tasks that. Yeah, currently, our deputy auditor 3 is gonna work full-time temporarily.
We did budget for Chuck Services salary in 2023, total salary and benefits for be approximately 22,700 for him for the year. So it's already in there. And that's based on no insurance, obviously Medicare, FICA, a little bit of PERA. And salary range right now would be 2138 is where he's at a B21A. Of course, the deputy auditor 2 salary is in there for next year too, to replace Jody.
See, you're comfortable.
Mhm.
So then you also has the stuff on election. Well,
So for elections, like I said, I just, went off of the previous presidential election year and kind of numbers.
What about election equipment?
So I don't anticipate any changes with equipment. We have done a demo on pool pads, but we haven't made the staff, we would kind of like to go forward with it, but there's been no commitment or anything like that. So it's kind of, and with the pool pads, that was something I did budget in 23.
What are they exactly?
But we have some restricted funds that we had gotten from some grants that we were.
What are they?
Poll pads are, so it's, when you go in for the election, there's just right now a paper roster in the binders. The poll pads would just replace that. So it's just a roster system that would then keep track, and you have a little.
It's basically a name and address list.
Yeah, it's like a little iPad,
Right.
and then you have a little printer that prints out 2 receipts. You know, the one is gonna be for them to take to get their ballot, and then the other one is for our records of who checked in. So, but yeah.
But they would still sign that like they would in the roster
Yes, yep, they actually use a little,
stylus or whatever.
Yep. So, and it would save, on our side, it will save us having to go through those books, because after the election, we have to go through to record voter history. So it would all be already in
Inventory, so to say, so you
Yep.
scored out a report. and-
exactly. And our also hopes would be is that it would also make sure it's catching people with addresses, like, okay, you can't vote in this, if you moved, you've got to go
And
elsewhere.
obviously it would flag if somebody was going twice or
Yep.
whatever.
So we think it's a good thing. It's more so just the, you gotta weigh the costs,
Right.
there's definite benefits, but
But it's cost
are the
too, I'm
costs
sure.
worth it?
Paper's still relatively cheap in comparison to the electronics. Right? Right. But just so that we don't go electronic on the actual voting.
I'm sure that's in statute. We don't do that.
Well, they do in some states,
Well,
but
not
I'm
Minnesota.
not in favor of it, but
Would those poll books be, election poll books be for every precinct or just like Pipestone
So.
or Edgerton or
for the In-person polling places.
for all of them?
Mhm. For
Oh, you don't
first-
have very many
for
of those
first
left.
talking, maybe like 10 of them, I think, or maybe it's 7. 7 or 8 is what we were talking about actually purchasing. A couple for each, and then just have like 1 or 2 for all the mail ballots. So,
the mail ballots are all barcoded and scanned, so you can confirm that my ballot is my ballot versus somebody else's.
yes, the envelopes.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, the confidentiality piece and stuff.
I mean, if my gets mailed in, at least when they initially open it, they can confirm
Mhm.
by the envelope that it was mine and not somebody else's. 60 or more. I'm assuming the 2022 actual must have been more than 1 year.
So in 2022, that was also included, I think, that forensic audit that was done, so.
Okay, yeah.
Departments.
Yep. I think we're good.
Two things before we go. Yeah, one, we have consensus to put the museum and library increases in the budget for now and see how things shake out later.
I think consensus is the correct term. If I'm not mistaken, Steve, we don't
No.
actually vote on that at this time. It's just.
We haven't in the past.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to,
No.
just if it's okay to do that, then you can put it in and
I
see how things shake out.
both of them are doing fine work for us.
Right. Especially in one case where the family has done so much.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then my other question is just for, at MRC tomorrow, when we do roll call, they're gonna ask us, what are our 1 or 2 top issues for our county? And I'm just opening up to suggestions. What do you think is a pressing issue for us? One of the issues I was thinking of was demo landfills. Because if they, close them down or, require them all to be lined like they're pretty much saying they're going to, that's gonna be a huge problem for us. Right? Lack of road funding. Lack of transmission capacity. Right, I'm thinking, more general things, right? Right, but I mean, yeah, do you have any other? But yeah, like out of those or other choices you may think of, or what? Do you have any thoughts on what your top issues would be?
If I'm not mistaken, didn't I hear discussion between somebody also about MRC wanting their support when it comes to these?
Right? Minnesota, I believe, isn't it the same for, like, when it goes to PUC is who will make the decision, we will have no say in the matter. Okay. Okay.
I thought one of them was down on Iowa border. Was federal, one was down there. I don't think it was. Summit, yeah, was that for the Brewster? Ethanol plant, or was that one for the? Go two different directions. Yeah.
Isn't one for Lamberton and one for Brewster or something, or
Something like that.
but I don't know that either has been approved yet.
No. But no, I think for MRC tomorrow, yeah, certainly support both of those, all three of those. Said there's so many of them.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's part of that, right? It's down the whole question is it utility? In my opinion, it's not a utility. That's what MRW is supposed to be used for the public good. It's not the good.
private company that's partially owned by the governor. Yeah, well, seemed to bother some of the residents.
So again, our community reports will move back for our next meeting, and then upcoming meetings, of course, I still got MRC or AMC. Thursday, Friday, well, actually, then starting Wednesday. I'm gonna go up tomorrow morning, for AMC, board, but then I'm coming back yet tomorrow night. I'll spend the night up there. I got some things going on.
Whereas MRC will meet after the AMC board.
Yeah. Tomorrow afternoon.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, 2:30 to 5. And I think we have 2 legislators that are gonna come and speak to us for a while.
Yeah, no. Chris,
Yeah, he
He's going.
he is going.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Steve?
Nope,
before we
not that I
adjourn?
have right now. Motion to adjourn?
There you go. How long the agenda was? Pretty long.
And if she brought dinner, the sexist question.
Not yet. You beat me to it.